To Lamar County in 2007 when I took the position of Chief Executive Officer of Paris Regional Medical Center. Shortly thereafter, I became involved with the Association of Lamar County Republicans. And as a result of that, became more involved with the local Republican Party. In the time that I have been here in the county, I have served as a precinct chairman for 4 years. I have attended 3 county Republican conventions, 3 state Republican conventions, and I was honored in 2012 to be selected and elected by the State Senate District 1 caucus to be your representative and the District 1 representative as a delegate to the National Republican Convention in Tampa, Florida. My entire professional career has been in healthcare administration, and as such I've had to deal with numerous state, federal regulations and numerous physician personalities and needs. I think that that experience has given me a high degree of qualification to be your county chair. That book over there is the county chair's Bible, if you will. It includes the election laws and all of the administrative functions and tasks that one must accomplish to be the county chair. I believe that I have a...
Thank you, Mr. Lucas. Bill Spratt.
Does it start now?
Yeah.
Okay. Thanks, Dave. It's good to be here listening to you tonight with your beautiful voice. Now, I don't know what to say, so I'll just say this. My sister said the first thing you're to do is to tell him what you're running for. I'm running for his job. Now, whatever else I say really doesn't matter. One thing I need to talk about is I'm going to take my speeches a little bit differently. The first thing I'd like to talk about is that we, all of us Republicans and some Democrats, or recent Democrats, are concerned about what's going on in Washington, and rightly so. We're also concerned about what's going on here in Lamar County, and that's more so really than rightly so, because what we do here affects our life every day. And in that regard, we've got about 3 or 4 problems, but the first and foremost problem is we don't vote. Traditionally, we do not vote in Lamar County. Traditionally, not only do we not vote, but we don't participate in the activities. So let me just say real briefly, the 3 major problems that we need to address is number 1, jobs and wages. Number 2, our PJC is under attack because we have a low asset tax base. And number 3, it looks like somebody in Austin or someplace is trying to take our water by moving us to another district. And that district is owned by our dear friends in Dallas. So those are the 3 things I wanted to address tonight. And as this develops, I'll talk to you more and more about what my qualifications are. I will say it pretty simply. All we need to do is run the election and get people to vote Republican.
Mr. Strathern, if you would remain up there, we will get started with the questions, which is, when was the first time you voted in a Republican primary?
Back in Lincoln's day, in 1884. No, it's kind of an easy one for me. I was in the Air Force. I was Army Air Force, and I was had served 3 years. I was about to get out, and President Harry Truman extended me 1 year, and he was a Democrat. He's a good guy, but he was a Democrat, and he extended me. About the time I finally got out, my brother Bob was assigned to Algiers. And when Bob was about ready to get out, my brother Jim was a medic in Korea. And President Eisenhower, or he wasn't president then, but Dwight Eisenhower said that when elected, I will stop the Korean War. I voted Republican and have been a Republican ever since. My whole family's Republican, and I'll tell you one little short story about that. I've got a granddaughter that graduated from the University of Berkeley, or University of California, Berkeley. And if you know, that's a hotbed of our dear friends, the Democrats. And she called me and says, Brandon, I got a big problem. I'm trying to join the Young Republicans just as you suggested to me, but there aren't any here at Berkeley. So she and my whole family have been Republicans for a long, long time. Thank you. Vote for Bill.
Mr. Dukes, when was the first time you voted in a Republican primary?
First time I voted in a Republican primary, and not just voted for a Republican candidate, but voted in a Republican primary, was in 1972. I had just turned 18, or I just turned 21, and the voting age at that time was 21, not 18. I was proudly serving in the United States Navy as a hospital corpsman, and we had a president, Richard Nixon, who was an incumbent and very popular. He was being opposed by a gentleman by the name of Pete McCloskey, who was anti-war and anti-Nixon, and also was not very much in favor of Nixon's detente with the USSR in China. Say what you will about Tricky Dick, but it was his detente with the USSR that allowed Ronald Reagan the opportunity to boldly state, Mr. Gorbachev, bring down that wall. In my chosen career, I've lived in a number of communities across the country, and I have always, when I have registered to vote and had to declare a party, have declared as a Republican voter. In my entire voting career, I have never voted in a Democratic primary except one time. And that was in an effort to advance the least electable Democratic candidate to be opposed by the Republican who the nomination was already known. So, I've got red blood, Republican blood, always have.
Mr. Dukes, if you would remain up there and go to the next question, what do you see as the role of the Lamar County Republican Chairman?
Well, let me say that I know that my opponent has been heavily working the campaign trail and has made statements about the fact that we need to create jobs and we need to, be sure that PJC doesn't get closed, and we need to protect our water rights. Yes, those are all things that need to happen. So is securing the border and destroying ISIS. But none of those things are the purview, responsibility, or authority of your county chairman. The county chairman's responsibility is as an administrator, a manager. The primary function of the county chairman is to run the primary elections, to make sure that we have voting poll judges and clerks to administer and provide ballot integrity at the polls. That is the primary function, to administer the election funds and give an accounting to both the Secretary of State and the state Republican Party after the elections are completed. The job of the county chairman is to support the Republican candidates and be a resource for them as they run their campaigns. I believe that in the short time that I have been the county chairman, which is since January of last year, I have done my best to provide assistance to any of the candidates who have come to me and requested information or forms or data or any of those things. The purpose of the chairman is to advance the party through advancing strong Republican candidates. That's what I have done since I have been the chairman. It's what I will continue to do if reelected.
Thank you, Mr. Dukes. What do you see as the role of the Lamar County Republican Chairman?
Completely different than what we just heard. And it's always nice when you have two candidates with two different viewpoints. You pick one and the other just says thank you very much. This business about doing Grimble, let me tell you what Grimble is. Grimble's getting a bunch of books, reading the numbers, and playing with it. And after you get done playing with it, you go to bed. Let me tell you what the role of the Republican Party chairman is. Number one, the Republican Party chairman is to expand the party, broaden the party, increase the people in the party. Number two, recruit good candidates, train them and help them get elected. Number 3, take the Republican ideals and things we stand for and teach independents and Democrats what we're all about. And number 4, and most of all, get our voters to the polls. Get our voters to the polls. That's not been done. But let me tell you a little bit about myself. How much time is I can't see it. Oh, well, that's okay. When I tell you I'm going to do things, I do. And I am going to change the way the Republican Party in Lamar County acts. We're going to get very aggressive. We're going to fill all 32 positions and not just the 8 or 9 that are filled now. And I'll talk more about that in a few more moments. I've had a number of management jobs. It says, Bill, I've had a number of management jobs that were really jobs and not administrative jobs. Administrative, you count the beans and tell you what the score is. The manager makes sure the beans are in the right place at the right time and you got enough beans to pay the bill. Bills, don't forget to vote for Bill. Thank you.
If you will remain up there.
Yes, sir.
How do you plan to advance the Republican Party in Lamar County, and be specific?
As we all know, it's a leadership job. And before a leader can lead, he has to understand what the problems are and figure out what to do about it. Well, in Lamar County, we have 32 precincts. And the 32 precincts are the team that the leader uses to get things done. Now, today, I think we have somewhere between 8 or 9 or 10 Republican Party chairmen or precinct chairs, and we should have 32. Let me say it again, 8 to 10 versus 32. So the problem is if you were playing football, you'd show up with 10 football players and you take on 32. That's not the way you run a railroad. We need all 32 precinct chairmen. We need all 32 precinct chairmen to be hardworking, intelligent, and hopefully a heck of a lot younger, than me. But we need to do that in order to get the job done. Recently, we've done such a good job that in the last off-year election, the Republicans won the state, they won nationally. And as Judge Bill Harris said, locally, in front of a meeting, we lost 3 of 4 of our local election. We're really doing a great job. Landslides, except in Lamar County, we lose 3 of the 4. And I think that's about enough for that subject.
Thank you, Mr. Strathern. Mr. Dukes, how do you plan to advance the Republican Party in Lamar County? And please be specific.
I think that one of the things that I need to address is the notion that 32 precinct positions and only a few being filled. It's actually 11 that are filled right now. And that is 11 more than the Democratic Party has filled right now. To be a precinct chairman, you have to file just like if you're running as a candidate. Your name doesn't appear on the ballot unless you're opposed. But you can go to the Secretary of State's website and you can see who filed for precinct chairs for the Republican Party and who filed for the Democratic Party. It's 0 for the Democratic Party. So they're coming to the football game with nobody. To continue and improve the Republican Party, the course was laid several years ago. It's why many of the candidates who were up here tonight were Democratic candidates 5 or 6 years ago, and they're Republican candidates tonight. That course of personal interaction with those candidates, that course of trying to identify people in the community that have an interest in being in political office and getting them to run, is what has brought us to the point where we are today, where we have no Democrats running in a primary locally. And of all of the public office holders in the county, all of them are Republicans except the 3 that won in the off-year election. Now, I don't want to get into why those 3 may have lost, but suffice it to say, there may have not been enough effort in their campaigns to get their face and their message out to the voters.
Thank you, Mr. Dukes. Chris Dukes and Bill Strathern.